What's going on? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, I got something I need to talk about. Thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks for checking in with me. It's always a pleasure. I always appreciate your time. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let's get to this. So, recently, there's been a bunch of arrests made. These guys in Georgia and South Carolina, they were purchasing guns, and they were selling them to people in Philadelphia region, but they really say Philadelphia, right? So this old, so anybody that know, it was always called the Iron Pipeline, right? The Iron Pipeline has always been Virginia, not really North Carolina, but Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia, really because the gun laws are lax, right? So because of the lax gun laws, it's always been easy to buy weapons, right? And they're cheaper on top of that, right? So you buy a firearm, and Virginia kind of closed that loophole. It's not so much Virginia no more, but it's definitely still South Carolina and Georgia. You purchase them firearms and you sell them up north for double for what you paid for it. Understand what I'm saying? That's always been the case. It's always been the case. This isn't nothing new. But, they said something upwards of like 400 firearms. They said it was like 2 or 3 dudes that purchased over 100 by themselves. I mean, it was a mass arrest, right? ATF, FBI, but ATF leads the charge because that's what they do. If you buy a certain number of weapons in a certain amount of time, you come on the radar. I don't think people realize that. It's not the gun dealer's job to stop you from purchasing those firearms. You can legally purchase them. You purchase them within the laws and limits of what you're allowed to do. They're going to let you purchase them. You feel what I'm saying? And, that's really what it is. You feel me? But, like I said, it was upwards of like 400 firearms purchased. I can't remember the time frame they said, but that's a lot of guns. They saying over $100,000 was made on 400 weapons. It's probably way more than that. Probably way more than that, because there's difference. Like I know cases where people have, they've hit trains and they've hit trucks. They picked the right box that was filled with handguns being transported, right? They were selling them guns for like, no matter what caliber, they were selling them for like $200 a pop. So yeah, you had dudes buying 3, 4, 5, 6 guns at a time for $200 a pop, fresh out the box. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, this always existed. So they're trying to, they're doing the math saying, this amount of violence they was able to track to each weapon, weapons that they recovered. But like I told y'all before, you got an operation. I forgot what the operation's called, but it's always been. It was part of Operation Safe Street. I don't think people realize it, but this isn't a new tactic or a new task force where you have the Philadelphia Police Department, you got the FBI, you got the ATF. Now I think addition, because at that time when Operation Safe Street out, Homeland Security, I don't even think it existed. So now you got Homeland Security a part of that as well. You know what I mean? Especially when you start talking about DEA too. DEA. When you start talking about illegals and fentanyl, that's DEA, Homeland Security. Normally FBI normally be part of that kind of joint task forces. But yeah, so it's no secret Philadelphia once again has a crazy, it's always existed, but now it boomed back up to like it's the 80s. With the homicide rate. You know what I mean? So they're doing a lot of there's a lot of resources being flooded into that city. Far as it's federal resources. So now if you shoot somebody, like I said, they picking that shell casing up off the ground, and you got ATF officers assigned to the district. They no longer got to send that off for analysis. You got ATF right there. They pick a firearm up. They recover a firearm. They got ATF on the spot that can track that firearm way better than a city police can. You know what I mean? So they say combating gun violence. Between those weapons that are purchased through straw purchase. That's what it's called. And those ghost guns, where you had somebody this morning that got arrested for creating ghost guns with a 3D printer. You know what I mean? I think he was in the process of like he had manufactured that they recovered X amount of them, but then he when the warrant was being executed, he was actively manufacturing a ghost gun. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? That's crazy. You know what I mean? I tell people, man, there's two things you can delve in today that you'll guarantee to get football numbers for. You can play with these ghost guns, or you can play with them switches, or you can play with that fentanyl. When it comes to that, man, pick your poison. Pick your poison. You want to go to state or you want to go to the feds? Pick one. You know what I'm saying? Some cases, man, they split it. They split down the middle. They don't even charge you federally for certain stuff. Because they really want you to hit. They really want to hit you in the head. None of this is going to be served concurrent. All consecutive. You're going to do this federal sentence. Then the day you max out, or the day you grant a parole, early parole, whatever the case may be, the state going to come get you. Now you got to walk off that state time. It was just like back in the day. Heroin and juice. I never went near none of that stuff, man. That's football numbers. You already know what came with that. It wasn't worth it, man. Even though 2 liters of juice get you an M, that's broken down. You know what I mean? Like it ain't really worth it, man. Like they not playing out here. I know a dude that got caught with heroin, fentanyl, and 2 switches. So I don't want to talk nobody here. People don't know what switches is. It's an aftermarket accessory that you could put on a handgun, and it turns it from semi-automatic to automatic fire. So instead of that pat, it turns it into a fully automatic weapon. Then when you combine that with having a drum, like 50 rounds, 100 round drums, man, that's crazy. You know what I mean? So a lot of shootings today, people got them switches, man. Like 17 shots in half a second. You know what I mean? So the police are definitely trying to cut down on it, but you got to cut down on the manufacturing of them then. You can't, you know what I mean? That's like when the police decided and the courts decided they was going to penalize the user of the drugs. You're not going to go after the manufacturers and the sellers of it. You're going to go after the user. All right, I guess that makes sense. To each his own, Kiko. But yeah, I just want to touch base on that real quick. I just thought that was an interesting arrest or article. It's not nothing new. If you know, you know. That's something that's always been in existence to a degree. And it's going to remain in existence to a degree. I mean, that's going to be something that's, they're gonna find a different way to do it, because there's too many places where you don't even need a like, there's too many states where you can buy a handgun in the parking lot. You don't even need a bill of sale or no kind of transfer to firearm paperwork wise, where you're obligated to go down and register on anything. It's perfectly legal. You know what I mean? Like, it's impossible. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably giving them a bigger headache, but they don't want to talk about that side of it. I guarantee that's giving them a bigger headache than the straw purchases. Because now they got to try to go back and go to original purchase. And this person don't sold the ID. He don't sold it to so-and-so. It's too easy to get a fake ID. You know what I'm saying? Or you're not required to write the name down or nothing. Yeah, he showed me ID. He showed me he was 21. He was over 21. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I needed. Legally, absolutely correct. Get money. But, you know what I mean? That's their problem to figure out. Thanks for coming through. Like, share, subscribe, comment. As always, it's a pleasure. Always appreciative. Loving the support. Let's keep going. Stay sucker free.